Good evening, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to another episode of Real Chill Conversations. We are going to talk about our reaction to Diddy's verdict that went down last week and just have a conversation about, our thoughts. You guys are free to chime in the comments, your thoughts. And I just want to know, first of all, Dominique, were you surprised by the verdict at all? Did anything surprise you? Was it expected for you or not so much?
Not really. I was not really surprised. I mean, I would have wished that things were a little different just with everything that we've heard and
Right.
all the accusations
Right.
allegedly. And I'll start with that. Everything that we say here we're going to say allegedly because
Allegedly.
we don't know the facts, of course. Like if if it is, we wasn't there.
We weren't there. Right.
We've heard it. We've heard the facts. Yes. But we were not there. So yes, I was not surprised. I would have liked to see more justice, definitely, with everything that was presented.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like the feds actually made this more about that's what I was afraid of from the beginning, that they were
Mm-hmm.
going to make it more about Cassie
Yeah.
and what she went through versus what he actually had been doing.
Had been doing
So
throughout all of the years. All of the years, not just with her.
exactly. And that, I mean, it's disgusting. It's
Mhm.
very disgusting, very disturbing of all of the things that I've heard
Right.
throughout the trial. But I really thought they were going to push this with more evidence and bring a concluded conviction on all of the charges versus just one or two.
Yeah.
And I also do believe that there was some jury tampering
Oh,
from the jurors.
yes, I'm glad that you brought that up. That's something that I definitely wanted to speak to. First, let's just lay out what the charges were. So there was a criminal conspiracy charge, that was the RICO or the racketeering charge for him engaging in criminally organized crime. There was the sex trafficking of Cassie. There was the sex trafficking of AKA Jane, otherwise known as Jane. She was going by a pseudonym during the trial to protect her identity, and the transportation to engage in prostitution.
Which
Those,
we all believe is 50 Cent baby mom.
right.
But yes,
So,
she's a Jane Doe,
right.
allegedly.
hmm So, those are the charges that were levied against him. And, throughout the entire trial, there was a lot of testimony, allegedly a lot of people speaking to him participating in certain criminal acts. There was the whole King Cudi testimony about what happened to his home being broken into by Diddy allegedly, and also his Porsche being blown up. Just different violent things that had gone on and taking place. The kidnapping of AKA Mia, someone else that was also using a pseudonym to protect her identity. So just him just showing just over the years a disturbing pattern of violent, controlling, manipulative, abusive behavior.
But
Um,
see, that is the thing. They surrounded it around Cassie,
they
and I
did.
would have liked to see more,
Right.
more victims, more people coming out. And this is what I mean about, in order to bring a change, you have to step up. And I
Yeah.
think some people wanted to step up, and the FBI did not even look their way.
Yeah.
I remember when there was a rumor about children being
Yes.
involved.
Yep.
Um, then that rumor disappeared.
Yeah, it went away.
It was never brought forward
It
in
just
a court
just
of
went
law.
away. Yeah.
So why they didn't want to bring in that? Why? We question those things. People feel sorry, and also people are saying, "Well, I feel sorry for his kids and stuff like that." Yeah, me too. But what about these other kids that he also allegedly have done things to?
Right.
Do you all feel sorry for those kids?
Right.
Even though a lot of people, when the verdict came, they was like, "Oh yeah, Cassie was down with it," and I've heard a lot of that.
Yeah.
But my thing is, she probably was at the beginning because he probably coerced her, or like
Well,
made her think that he was in love with her or something, and but
right. And
at first.
the promise of being a success under his management with all of his success with different artists. I mean, that was something that was very appealing to her. She wanted to be, a hit singer. She wanted to be a top known performer. And he just kept putting her off and putting her off and not putting out her music. And, just really holding down, tightening down those reins,
Mhm.
of abuse and manipulation on her. And I do agree with you. I do think that, with her filing her civil lawsuit, which originally stemmed from her reaching out to Diddy, letting him know that she had put together a book based on the her experiences of their years that they had spent together. And she had a $30 million price tag on that book. So Diddy did not respond, allegedly. No response from Diddy. So then she moves forward and she files this lawsuit, which ultimately gets settled the next day for an undisclosed amount that we then later learned that amount was $20 million. Then she also got a $10 million payout by the Intercontinental Hotel where the violent attack that took place that we all got to see that was released on video. She received that payout from them. So from that civil case, and even though they settled that case civilly, then the FBI and Homeland Security got involved and started investigating him for criminal charges. But they wouldn't have had the information that they had, or as much of the information that they had they not gotten insight from Cassie's testimony and other people that were coming forward and all these alleged suits that were coming out. There was the lawsuit from the 13-year-old girl, the girl who said she was 13 at the time, that she was allegedly raped by Jay-Z and Diddy at a MTV VMAs after party at the age of
And by the
13.
way, Jay-Z have lost that what was it that he was suing Busby for lying
Yes.
defamation, and
Yeah,
he
that
lost that.
defamation. And he lost that. He did lose that. So the girl wound up dropping the lawsuit, but Jay-Z did not win in his lawsuit for defamation. So, I mean, it's just a really disturbing pattern of behavior. And the jury's decision to find him guilty on the engaging in transportation of prostitution charges, to me, I mean, those, they're the less serious of of events, but also at the end of the day it's like it's something, but you're still left with this uneasy feeling of like, but is this really justice? Because that's not some big, oh my gosh, he's a violent criminal, he's gonna have to spend the rest of his natural life in prison, type of offense. He's, I don't know how many other criminal charges he has aside from the situation with J Lo and the nightclub and that gun charge, but I don't know what else he has. So in terms of his sentencing, I believe those charges can run up to 10 years each. So
Well,
that would be 20 years if it was to be served
that is the
consecutively.
maximum. That is the
Yeah,
maximum. But of course, they also have points to go by in the time that he has already served. So,
served. Yep,
looking at those charges, I'm looking about 5 years.
yep.
If now it's up to the judge, if he really want to go in. And trust me, I believe the judge really knows what's going on. Hang on. Be quiet. That's my baby.
Trying to
Okay,
be
I'm
trying to be
sorry,
trying to be in
y'all.
trying to be in mom mode doing the podcast. I totally get it.
Right.
But yes, I agree with you. I do think that the judge knows what's going on because Diddy's lawyers made, a plea for him to be released on
Yes.
bail.
And
And the
they
judge
didn't
the
approve it.
judge the judge denied that request and said he has to remain incarcerated until his sentencing, which is to take place in October. So,
And he definitely used exactly what they came up with. They try to make it look like it was a domestic situation, domestic violence situation. So
yep,
the judge was like, well, why would I let him out if you already admitted that he is,
right,
kind of like a threat?
right.
Because that is still a threat. If
Mm-hmm.
a person is, if you're just saying, oh, this is a range moment, a domestic violence situation, I really feel like I have a strong feeling that there was something. Yes, he was doing his stuff. He was doing things that he had no business doing, but I strongly believe that they went in there to
Mm-hmm.
get something that they
Yeah,
wanted, and then they knew what he was doing anyway, so
right.
they tried to scare him with some charges,
Yep.
and they got what they wanted.
Well, yeah, because you got to think about the fact that I find it interesting that the
And this
judge,
does not mean he's not guilty now.
right,
I'm
right,
just
right,
saying,
right,
looking, it's something that they were looking for and they got it. And now they're like, okay, like a
because
scare tactic. We could get you.
the judge told the jury to go back and review the testimony of Cassie, of Jane, of Mia, and several other people that had testified. One juror said that she had to go back and look through 350 pages of handwritten notes. So the judge wanted them to make to make a decision. He wanted them to make a decision. He wanted them to come to some kind of agreement. He was pushing them to find something without telling them to find something. He was trying to get them to come to a
It was
decision.
there. It's there. It's
Yeah,
there. They just didn't present everything.
right.
They held on some things. And that's why I said, this is scary. It's
Yeah,
really scary because you know what he was doing. You know that there were FBI employees involved. You know there were allegedly. You know there was police involved allegedly.
allegedly.
Um, important people, politicians allegedly. So it was a big thing. It was a big thing. It was more players, and you know, some people are not willing to go down.
I
So,
don't think anybody was willing to go down. I don't think anybody was
because I
willing to
was trying to
go.
say, how are they doing a RICO if he's the only one there?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay,
So,
so all of these other people that so-called witnesses, they
mhm,
they are also guilty
right,
because they saw these things and they didn't say anything.
right, but
NDA or not, I don't
right,
care. Once it become a criminal offense, you have to say something.
right.
Or if not, you're participating.
Take the testimony of the male escort. I believe his name was Daniel,
Hmm.
that testified, and he testified to being asked to participate in a hotel night with Cassie and Diddy. And he described how Cassie would just look down at the floor and he would try to speak to her and she'd be like, no, wait until Diddy comes back, and just her
Right.
demeanor. And he was describing the demeanor of a broken woman. He was describing the demeanor of a battered woman, of someone that has been in a domestically abusive situation, that has been mentally broken and just torn down to where a place that you can barely even get up from. And people don't understand that, women will get stuck in this cycle, and women will get stuck in this syndrome. And they never want to come forward, and they never want to talk about it because of the shame and the guilt that they feel for themselves getting into the situation. They blame themselves. I mean,
Absolutely.
think about how long it took for her to speak up and to come forward and talk about this
And this was
situation.
like very heartbreaking things that she had to do. But I
Yeah.
do want to say this as well. The stuff that she was doing, which is paying the transportation of prostitutes, like she could have went down for that charge as
Yeah.
well. But
Yeah.
the immunity is what's actually protecting her and
Hmm.
protecting these other people as well for
Right.
the favor to come testify against him.
Right.
So yes, she is a victim. I do see her as a victim, but she unfortunately could get in trouble as well.
Yep.
And not just for that, but look at how many people are coming out now trying to sue her and Diddy allegedly for giving them STDs
Yep.
knowingly.
Yep.
So if somebody is making me do something, yes, I would be a victim, right? Because they could be threatening me with killing my family
Right.
or offing me or offing somebody I love. So yeah, but at the same time, if I'm doing something illegal, even though they're pushing me to do it, I am still
There's still an
guilty
accountability there.
in a
Yeah.
way,
You're
you
still
know?
there's still some accountability there.
Because
Yeah.
you're still going along with it. You're
Hmm.
putting a lot of people's lives at risk. You already mentioned of the things that you had to do with other prostitute males,
Right.
being under, uh, really bad rashes and
Hmm.
all that type of stuff. Those people are going to look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mm.
why would you engage in this? And this was going on with you. It's like it's a lot.
It is a
So
lot. I mean,
she
I know that fear is a powerful thing, and I can only imagine, the fear that she had in her with trying to manage and maneuver in this situation, and to try to get out of it. But at the end of the day,
just as
it's
well as the other celebrities too.
yeah,
They knew.
it's just, to me, it's just devastating to know that when you're in a position of wealth and power and connection, that you will not be held truly accountable for all of your wrongdoings and all of your crimes.
And
If
the
they,
and the celebrities were like, "Well, I left the party early.
yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah, I didn't know.
I didn't go to that party." No,
Yeah,
you knew, and
yeah,
that makes you as much guilty as everyone else. Like,
right.
um, don't do that.
Yeah. Let's
Even
not.
his chef came out and wrote
It,
a letter to the judge.
yes.
Did you hear about that?
Yes, yes. The chef came out and was to saying that it was traumatizing, and I mean, just the devastation. And she had spoken out about him before, but that got quickly shushed and quieted and swept under the rug. But she had come out and she'd spoken about his actions and his behavior before. So I wasn't surprised that she also, decided to speak up and to speak out, about these actions and this behavior. But I just think that it's setting an example, and it's following a long precedent of this behavior in the industry, with people in positions of power and money, that just are not held accountable, fully for their crimes. And it takes women having to come forward and to talk about, the most personal, private things that no one should necessarily have to know about, but they have to do it. They have to talk about it. They have to discuss it. It has to get put on paper. It has to be documented. It's, on the record, for people to know about what took place and what went down. And that's a huge thing. And it's unfortunate that even after they go through that whole process, they go through that just for there to be no true justice in their situations. And I just think that it's a shame. But, like you, I wasn't surprised really. I wasn't really expecting, I didn't really think that they made the case in the RICO. I didn't think they would find him guilty in that. I was iffy on the whole Cassie sex trafficking case that they were trying to make. Just because there was also the alleged text messages and things like that where she was asking him about hotel nights and about freak offs. And I think I read somewhere someone had said that, well, just because, she asked about it doesn't mean that she wanted to do it all the time. So there's still the no means no. You have to take that into consideration and to take that into account.
Absolutely.
Maybe at one point, like you said, maybe at one point she was willing to participate. Maybe she thought that, it was just a lifestyle thing or like a fetish kind of thing that, the guy that she was into, that's what he liked. So she wanted to satisfy him and please him. So she did what he asked. And he
But he
also,
was not only doing it to her, though,
he wasn't. He
he was
wasn't.
doing to many other women.
Yep.
So that does become somewhat trafficking in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like I was saying, um, I don't, I, I am, I am upset. I'm not upset. I would have liked to see more of other evidence be put in instead of held back, because you're
Yeah.
still going to have somebody out there that is not mentally stable
Yeah.
per se. And I mean, if it is like that, then he really does need help. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, because you're putting a person back out here who, and I really thought this was going to change the whole industry system,
Right.
because, it is really messed up that you have to degrade yourself and do stuff that you don't want to do just to make it out here. And
Right.
if that's how it is, then I don't want it.
Right. You can keep it. You can have it. It's not
Yeah,
worth it to me. I'd rather have my peace.
exactly.
I'd rather have my peace of mind and to be able to close my eyes every night and not have to relive nightmarish things that, that I've had to do and that I've participated in. So
Do you think the judge is going to be harsh on his punishment? Because I really feel like the judge don't like him,
I don't think the judge likes him either.
and he have a reason.
And he does have a reason. He does have a reason. And, and I think that is clear and evident that the judge really doesn't like him and really is not pleased with, I don't think he's happy with the jury. And the outcome. And I think that plays a big part in the whole decision to, hold him over. And yes, I know he's using the reasoning of, domestic situations and all of that, so he could still be a viable threat. So no, I'm not going to release him, on bond. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just think there's a lot of things that come into play in this whole case and the whole situation. I think that the prosecution should have done more presentation of evidence of these other cases and other women and other scenarios and other situations. I think that they should have looked at the the history between the other women that he's had in his life, His first child's mother, Misa Hilton Brim, the relationship he had with Kim Porter, the relationship that he had with Jennifer Lopez, the relationship that he, I mean, the relationship obviously that he had with Cassie, but throughout all of those situations and scenarios, there was always some kind of story or some kind of scenario where he wasn't behaving the way that he was supposed to behave, and he wasn't acting right, and he wasn't doing things. But many women, they just don't want to talk about it, they don't want to speak about it, they want to just keep it to themselves. And so when you stay silent, then people don't know. So I think if we had gotten more of that from not just one key witness, not just one key person that we're focusing on, or one and then two and three, then maybe we would have had a better chance of getting the sex trafficking charges, getting guilty verdicts on those. But I just don't think that they
And
did
some
enough.
people back to back, like Gina, she went
Yeah,
on Tasha K podcast, and she was just speaking her mind, baby.
yeah,
But she went on there about the things that he was doing to her, and all
yeah,
of a sudden she comes out on TMZ the day of the verdict
yep,
and saying that he's not dangerous,
right,
that he's this, he's that. I'm like, girl,
right,
don't come back.
right.
Don't
Just
come back and change it when he's
no.
back out here and
Hmm.
doing things even worse.
Yeah,
You're gonna really regret it. Like,
yeah,
y'all need to like stop.
yeah,
Stop. Stop covering up stuff that can end your life.
exactly,
Stop
exactly.
covering up for people that don't want any good to come to you, that are
Hmm.
willing to take you out. Like, don't do that. And you're
Hmm.
messing up not only yourself but for other women as well.
Right.
I hope everybody is listening and paying attention. Because the people that are out here at the courthouse, outside the courthouse, pouring baby oil on them, talking about look, like
Right. Yeah.
Diddy is free. No, he is not free.
Right.
Number
Right.
one, he still
Yep.
have to serve his punishment.
Right.
And number two, no, I don't know. For me, you can have it. I mean, if y'all want to celebrate that, if y'all think that's cute,
Right.
that's y'all.
Hmm.
Definitely not me, because I'm not gonna celebrate that.
No, there's
And
nothing
that
to
is that is sending the wrong message
the wrong
out here
message.
to women who is actually trying to get out of, and pimps. Okay, if he is a pimp, you know how many pimps ruin people's lives?
Yep.
Like, seriously, could be
Yeah.
your daughter,
Hmm.
could be your son. Yes,
Trafficking,
son.
trafficking is real, people. It is real. It exists. There's not a gas station. There's not a hotel. There's not a restaurant that you can't go into that doesn't have a posted message about how to get help if you are being trafficked. Okay?
That's
It is
right. Yes.
it is real out here. And these stories about people turning up missing and girls going missing. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. And I just feel like, this little slap on the wrist is not going to do anything. His mom was outside the courthouse, showing the victory sign. And, she was celebrating. And okay, I understand like that that's your son. But I mean, even as a mother, if my child was doing something that was hurting another human being, especially someone else's child, I would have a problem with my child. I would be upset with my child. I would be
Yeah.
like, you know that you're wrong, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
This is wrong. And I
But
can't,
that's what happens. That's why he's the way he is, allegedly.
yeah,
When people like celebrate the bad things that their kids do, that's sad to me. That's
yeah.
just showing me that where your mentality is.
But
Instead of
she
getting
raised
your
him.
son some
She she
help,
she raised him like that though. She
instead of getting your kids some help, you're celebrating the wrongdoings of their actions.
Yeah.
And I don't think that there's anything that you could change about that video of him beating up on Cassie the way he did.
Mm-mm.
That was very, very wrong in all levels.
Yeah.
And the people that participated to cover that up for
Cover that up.
years,
Right.
shame on you.
Yep.
Even if you became and stood on the stand and said, oh, you just want to come out with it now, you should
Right.
have been came out with
Should.
it.
Yep.
You should have been put it out there, and maybe it would have
Hmm.
stopped so many bad things that happened to this girl.
Right.
And if you let this man out, I feel sorry for this girl and
Hmm.
everybody that went to testify, because eh, he is a threat to them.
He is absolutely a threat to them.
So I mean, I just feel like people should really like look within themselves and see what they're portraying. And all of this situation about I don't know if you know, if you listen to Tisa Tales or not.
Yep.
She did a really great job with this Diddy trial, and
Hmm.
she was actually out there. Now, one of the other podcasters were saying that she was like, "Oh, Diddy." She read the guilty verdict on on Diddy before it even came out, where she
Hmm.
was lying, and I clearly heard her say that that's what she thought.
Right.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
So, in no shape or form, she said that's what it was.
Right.
Um, and then they just come attacking this lady
Hmm.
at the courthouse. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? While she's trying to do what all of us do, which is
Right.
podcast and bring the news or talk
Hmm.
about things. And that's just a shame
It
that
is.
people can't get along,
Yeah.
or that you have to hate on another person just to get your viewers or
Right.
get attention. I
Yeah.
mean, no, let's not do that.
Let's
But
not
I
do
mean,
that.
kudos to her because she's been doing a great job.
She has. Yeah, given us great coverage, given us great behind the scenes and insight and detail. And I know she'll continue to do that once the sentencing hearing takes place in October. So we'll just have to wait that out a couple of months and see what transpires and what happens from there. But at the end of the day, it's just another day of justice not being served. And it's unfortunate, but it was not unexpected. So, I think
Right.
that's the sad part. I think the sad part is that I don't think anybody really expected for him or expected
The
for justice
sad
to be
part
served.
is that all of these people came out to trust
Yeah,
in the system, put their trust in the
in the
system, and
system,
once again, it has failed.
it has
This
failed.
just goes to show of why should I bring my story forward if nothing is
Hmm.
going to be done about it, but I'm going to be putting my life on the line. This is
Right,
how many people feel, not just Cassie, not
right.
just Jane Doe and these celebrities and stuff like that, which I really don't um be into celebrities like that. Trust
Right.
me, I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you know,
Hmm.
g- imagine regular folks like us.
I like us. Yes.
Like, seriously?
Uh-huh.
And as soon as you come out and say something, if your family don't think you're lying, the law think you're
The
lying.
law thinks you're lying,
So
right?
why do
And
y'all
then you
tell
and
us
you
to
and then
speak
you
and
you
say
you you
something?
lose your job. You lose the ability to make income. You lose, you can't live in your neighborhood anymore. You're getting threatened. Your kids are getting threatened. Your family's getting threatened. I mean, it's just a whole lot to have to go through to speak your truth. And
And the
you know,
law is supposed to be there to protect and serve
supposed to
us.
be, and it's supposed
And
to be, and it's
it don't seem like sometimes it's like that, y'all. And
mm-mm,
I'm not gonna say all people, all police officers, or all FBI. No, I'm saying some because it's still some mixed up in the bunch that
right,
is not gonna abide by the law, and that's messed up
right.
because you're supposed to be protecting humanity,
Yep.
and it's messed up that when things like this happen, and this is a big case, but if it was not a big case, you know what I'm saying, it's like it shows people that the more money you have, the more power that you have, the less voice you have.
Yep.
And that's
That's
not
it.
okay.
It's not okay. It's absolutely
And
not
I'll leave it
okay.
there.
Yep, it's absolutely not okay. I'm with you on that 100%. We talk about a lot of different things, and I did want to have this conversation because I feel like it's important to highlight and for us to continue to talk about things so that we bring awareness to what most people may not take into consideration in their day-to-day lives. It's like, yeah, you live your life. Your life is for the most part normal. You don't have any major, traumatic issues, and nothing traumatic or devastating has really happened to you. But the person sitting next to you, or the person, that's in front of you at the grocery store, or when you go to Walmart or Target or whatever, may have just really had some really traumatic things happen to them in their life, and they're still out here trying to make it and survive, and you just never know what anybody is going through. So, I just encourage people to just be kind. Don't be judgmental. Don't be so quick to judge when people come forward and share their stories, because it's hard enough to have to sit with that within yourself, but then to kind of share it and to make yourself so vulnerable and open, that's
Mhm.
another big thing. So, I mean, kudos to everybody that did come forward and testify. Some of y'all were a day late and a dollar short. Sorry to say that, but that is just my
The truth.
opinion.
The
And
truth.
so, that certainly could have helped out a long time ago. And it could have been years ago that we brought an end to this. But hey, here we are in 2025.
And I'll say this, you can hide from the public, you can hide from the law, you can hide things from the public
Yep.
itself. But
Yep.
one person you can't hide it from is God.
Mm-hmm.
So just make sure that you're up to that. So
Yep.
that's it. I mean, whatever you do to people is gonna come right back to you. That's how just the universe works. So
That's
if
karma.
there's no justice in the law and
Karma.
out here,
There's karma.
then definitely believe in the law of the universe,
There you go.
because that is going to hit you harder than anything else.
And on
So
that
be
note,
good to people so that
yes,
things can come back.
that's it. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to say goodbye until next week when we have our next episode. Do you know what we're going to be talking about next week? Yep.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet.
Well, you'll post it up in the chat, I'm sure.
I will.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
All
Bye.
right. Bye bye.
Bye.